have some astral projection updates. So I've experienced the vibrational state. There's also this other thing that happens where it's sort of this mixture of sleep paralysis, somewhat of kind of a vibrational state, and then what feels like, are my feet where my pillows are, or are they to the side, or where are they? And it almost feels like I'm kind of sort of moving around, rotating on my bed. And all of these feelings of like paralysis start kicking in, where it's that feeling when I've attempted astral projection. I find that I was actually watching a video of someone, and he emphasized many times through the video, made a very good point, that one has to lose consciousness and then regain it to find themselves really in that hypnagogic state, that state where one is half awake, half asleep, but that sleeping realm has been activated. And I find that each time that I've come really close, where I've experienced the vibrational state, where I've come really close to separating, that I have lost consciousness and then regained it. So I sort of fell asleep for a little bit and then got back up, like where I'm so relaxed and it feels like I'm going to fall asleep, but I'm staying awake, but then I actually doze off for a little bit and then wake back up. And then that's where the separation process starts kicking in. Several days ago, I was asleep, but then I woke up slightly and I felt those feelings of movement and vibrational state, and it felt like I was being engulfed in paralysis is I guess what that is, and what it feels like. It makes it really hard to move. Like if I tried to move, it would be very difficult to move my body, but I was conscious. I ended up waking up enough. But what happened there was I ended up falling asleep, and I was kind of like, okay, let me just go for it, because I've had it happen a couple of times, and I felt like, oh, I'm not ready. Like I'm in this state to have an AP and to astral project, but I wasn't sure, like I wasn't trying to make it happen exactly at this time or whatever. And so I just decided, you know what, like when I experience it, whenever it is that I experience it, I'm going to go with it. So this is what happened several days ago. Slightly awake, and I'm like, just let me like go with this. And I ended up in a lucid dream. And it was very short, at least I don't know how long the dream actually was, but it was short for me because I only remember maybe about, 30 seconds to a minute. I wasn't lucid for too long. But I do remember that I was lucid, and I was actually talking about how I was in a dream and like, look, this is a dream, I was speaking with someone, and then I ended up at some point waking back up just slightly and then going back in, and it was sort of like that place again. It was like it sort of reset, and I was able to say it again, what I was saying to someone. Like I was pointing out that it was a dream. And the first time the person was like, they didn't know what I was talking about and just kind of walked ahead. The second time I sort of like just felt myself wake up a little bit, and then I felt myself go into it like this, like sort of vibrational, like, and then I was back there again. And then I pointed out, like, look, see, because of this, this, and this, like, see, this is the dream world, like these things don't happen when we're awake. And the person was like looking at me and listening to what I was saying. Yeah, so there were these two short lucid dreams that were similar. It was almost like the same dream. And then it was like the same dream again, or at least the portion of that dream again. So I'm starting to experience this vibrational state sort of right before separation experience, and then I see how I end up in a lucid dream, which I find interesting because I wonder if it's actually an out-of-body experience and I just don't recall the separation process. I from what I understand, like AP, when a person does an astral projection, is the part when they remember the separation process. Here I'm somewhat experiencing it, but I'm not experiencing that portion that I want to experience, which is when my consciousness is leaving my body. That part I'm experiencing now before, and then when I'm out already. So last night I experienced a separation, but I don't know if I would have to experience it, I think, in a different manner, maybe, or I don't know, in order to fully know if what I experienced was a full separation. It seemed like that's what it was. But the thing is that it was in a dream. So it was like, I was experiencing those sensations, the separations right before the separation sensations, and then I ended up in my bed, but it was a different bed. It was a different location. But then when I tried to get up, and again, I was completely lucid the whole time. Like, I was completely lucid. That was the thing. And there was somebody there that I was talking to, and I think I know the person. There's something there, and I don't know if that person had somebody else next to them. I'm not sure who it is, but it just felt like someone familiar that I was saying, oh yeah, like I rolled out, because I ended up rolling out. So what happened was, the first time I just kind of got up, and it felt like my hands and maybe my feet were still connected, and I was pulling and I couldn't get out. And then I thought, okay, well, let me just wait a bit longer. And so then I went back in. And again, this is in a dream, but I'm completely lucid. So this is where I'm not sure if, because I'm lucid and this is happening, but it's not me being awake and then falling asleep a little bit and waking back up. You know what I mean? And because I had a partial separation where I was awake, like I could feel where I was here. In this dream, I was in a slightly different setting. I was in my bed, but it was actually a different bed. And so it was kind of like dreamlike, except I was lucid. So anyway, I ended up trying to separate, but I couldn't get my hands out. And maybe not my feet, but I think like my head and my torso was out. So then I decided to just go back in and wait, and I waited, and then I ended up rolling out. And then when I rolled out, I just came out. I was just like out. So then it was sort of like this mixture between, because like I wasn't in my bed. I guess I was, but this was like a different realm. So it was interesting. And I remembered everything I wanted to do. It was like, okay, I want to go outside, because for me, the way I'm thinking of it is like, okay, if I can make my way outside, and once I'm outside, maybe like on the sidewalk, I would like to see if I can see my guide. So I found myself, I wanted to be at my front door. And so I just found myself at my front door, and it was my actual front door. So I went from this like bed, and I don't know if it's just kind of a safety setup thing around that part, because right now I'm not totally comfortable with the idea of seeing my body in my bed and getting up and walking around my bed. Like, it's kind of, I'm not sure what to think about it. I'm getting there, you know. I know I don't need to see my body. That's not, you know, something I need to do. But I'm just thinking, like, if I could just get to the front door, you know. So anyway, I found myself at my front door, and then I thought, well, I can just go through it. And I did, and there wasn't much, like, I was able to do it, but then I found myself back. Like, I went through it, but then I ended up back in front of the door again. And I was like, okay, well, let me open it. And so I opened it, and the door opened, and I went through. And it was nighttime, and I'm like, okay, well, let me go out to the sidewalk. And then I said, I'd like to see my guide. But um, I was trying to hold on to being lucid. And so I was like, I didn't see a guide. And I thought, okay, well, let's see. Well, what I want to do is I want to go to a friend's house and maybe stand outside his house and like on the sidewalk, and see if he can sense me, because he mentioned like if you want, like you can come by and and I'm thinking like he'll probably be able to see me, like if I, AP, like to see if he sees me and then see if he can tell me. I was walking and it felt different. Like I was trying to get used to moving. I realized that I was walking, but I couldn't quite get myself to fly, even though I know I can fly in lucid dreams. And it just had this interesting feeling. And then there were these cats, and I love cats. So there were these two cats, and I think they could both see me. And one cat in particular, like the cat was just, and it was a gray cat with black stripes, and it really looked at me and was like kind of jumping and sort of following along with me and kind of swatting a little bit. And at some point I actually felt the cat's claws kind of just pass through my energy. I'm like, whoa, I felt that. And so I'm like, this cat's kind of playing around, just really curious. And it was super clear that the cat could see me. So I don't know if the cat was in another dimension. I think possibly the cat was from that dimension. Like I was where I was, but it was kind of different. Maybe like another dimension possibly. So at that point I decided, okay, so I have this cat here and it feels intense, like just trying to get myself, moving and going and stuff. And I thought, okay, let me just go back. And then I felt myself go back to my body. The thing is that like, I couldn't tell at that point, like when I think about it now, like if I woke up a little bit or not. So I don't know. I'm not going to count it as a full AP because it occurred within a dream. I think that's definitely, when I think about it, it's like a safe and friendly introduction to all of it, to have experienced it, I guess, that way. So it could just be like my mind's way of sort of slowly introducing that experience to me. I really was completely lucid. Like I was lucid, so lucid. I remembered like what I wanted to do and where I was going. Like I just went through everything as if I was still semi-awake. Like I probably would have done everything the same, So that was interesting. Small steps in the direction of like a full-blown AP. I would say like full-blown AP for me would be either being awake or waking up and then slightly falling asleep and waking back up and then separating, like when I had that partial separation, because that was the video that I did before this one. That was the experience I had before this video. So this one was like more complete and I actually made my way out and everything, but it was different because again, it was a lucid dream where that happened. So, and that's, and I've had dreams where I'm dreaming and I go to sleep and I'm in another dream and then I wake up, but I'm still in a dream, like a dream inside of a dream. I've had that happen multiple times. This was different, but yeah, it was neat. It was neat. So that's an update. Yeah, I'm still at it. I'm just allowing myself to, I know that I have to fall asleep and then wake up, and that's how, Because I've even meditated for like 2 hours where I'm meditating and I'm staying awake while my body is asleep, and it's really clear that my body is asleep. But now I know that I'm not going to enter that state where the vibrational state kicks in, like fully, and I start where I'm able to separate until I lose consciousness, where I doze off for a little bit and wake back up. And I learned this from a gentleman. I've been watching his videos, and he talked about that, and he emphasized that heavily in a video. And I realized that my previous experiences where I got really close to separating, where I've had a partial separation, I dozed off and woke back up and found myself in that state. And then now I'm finding with lucid dreams, what's happening is I'm asleep and I slightly wake up, and then I feel the vibrational state, and I feel these other things that are associated with sleep paralysis. And then I've been ending up in lucid dreams. So stuff for me to think about. Whatever, I'm just like, when I find myself there, I'm going for it. And ever since I did that, and that's how I've had these past 3 experiences, 2 of them in one night, the short dreams, and then this one that happened yesterday. It was quite long, lucid. It was really clear. Yeah.